All right, look, this is a housing market that no one's ever seen, and I'm tired of seeing realtors tell you everything's fine, everything is gonna go back to normal, or it's still a great time to buy. Go ahead and watch this video, and I'm gonna tell you what I really think about this housing market right now. Obviously, right now, the change in the housing market, it went from a super seller's market where you put something on the market and within a few days, it would, be gone. And if you were a buyer, you were definitely dealing with multiple offer situations and super low interest rates as well. Now, we're definitely seeing a softening of demand and also, less buyers, or we're definitely seeing less buyers out there, and we're seeing homes sit on the market longer. And the biggest change by far is the interest rates going from the low threes to the sevens right now. It's just a huge change. So this change has to be dealt with though, because people are still going to have to buy and sell homes. So instead of saying, hey, it's still a great time to buy, let's really think about what that means, what that looks like. And to do that, I want to go through these 4 steps. All right, so the first step when we're dealing with change is that everyone starts to anticipate the coming change and we're going to panic. So I think we're kind of past that right now. And I think we're past the panic stage because no one's going out and panic buying at 7%, or no one's going out and panic overpaying for houses that are on the market right now. Everything has seemed to calm down a little bit. And that brings us to the next step. And this is where I think we currently are as a housing market. I think we're in the place where adaptation to a new housing market's going to start. Now, we're starting to see adaptations right now. So if you're in the housing market right now, you probably have that feeling that you kind of missed out, or that you definitely missed out, that you're having to pay too much. But listen, there are plenty of adaptations that are happening. One of the biggest adaptations that I'm seeing from new builds to existing homes is sellers are finally starting to offer seller or buyer incentives to buy their home, whether it's paying down your rate or giving you some closing costs, or giving you, in the case of a new construction, upgrades at the time of your build. There's so many more things that people are throwing in there to make their home that they're trying to sell more enticing. And there's less competition for each home. So this is where this adaptation starts. We're in the phase right now in this fall market where adaptation is 100% happening. Now, I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen with adaptation, but I know for certain that it's going to look different, a lot different than it did last spring. And this is where we get to that third step. We're going to start settling in this new norm, but you're still probably going to regret that you didn't buy before or you didn't sell before. I really see this being the spring and the summer markets where we're going to have buyers and sellers back into the market. But a lot of people that we're going to talk to, or a lot of people you're going to work with, are definitely going to regret not selling their house before, or maybe not buying a house when interest rates are low. And I think that's going to make it a little bit tough in some ways to negotiate with sellers and buyers. There might be some unrealistic expectations based on previous years. So I just would say stress patience when we're thinking about the spring and summer market. Come in there with a knowledgeable realtor that can help you make those really good decisions and kind of take the emotions out of it, because emotions are going to run high, especially when you feel like you missed out on something, from before. And this leads me to my last one. And I'm not sure when we're going to get to this, to be 100% honest with you. I'm not sure when we're going to get to this last step, but the last step is going to be the wouldn't go back phase. So at some point, believe it or not, step 4, we're going to get there, and we're going to be in a market where we realize we wouldn't go back to what that market was before. We wouldn't go back to that hot sellers market that we saw for that 20, after pandemic timeframe, that it just wouldn't be worth it to those people currently in the market to do that. And I see it, and I know you're probably like, you just sound like another realtor telling me it's going to be great again. But I really do believe that when we get to that 4th step, when we get to that right time, what's going to happen is sellers are going to be happy, because for most sellers, they're also buyers. So for sellers, they had to sell in a hot market and buy in a hot market. So for them, in their mind, they're going to say, well, at least I got to sell in this market and buy in a cooler market too, where property values were or property prices were a little bit lower. And for buyers, they're going to be happy, not with the rates, because soon that's just going to be something that people are used to. These higher rates are probably most likely because of Fed policy, and inflation's here to stay for a while. Buyers are going to be happy with the equity that they build in the home. And now when I talk to buyers, one of my biggest things is, there's a cliche of date the rate, marry the home. But basically what it's saying is you can always refinance. Now, refinance can be a really good strategy in certain situations, and I don't recommend it for all of people. It really depends on your rate and how long you plan to stay in your home. But it's right. You're tied to that home, and the home's equity is kind of where you're going to gain long-term wealth. gain long-term, financial stability, and gain long-term and family-long wealth. And so I really think at the end of this, at the end of all of this cycle, when we get to step forward, we're going to be at a point where buyers are happy that they have a home, that they have, that they can build equity in, that they're not buying at the peak of the market. Sellers are happy that they're not having to sell their home and then try to buy in a crazy market. And it just becomes a more balanced market. Hopefully you take a little bit out of it that, we're in a weird place in the housing market. We're in a place of adaptation in the housing market. We're going to be getting to a place where the change is real, and we're still regretting a little bit maybe of not getting in it when it was hot, but the change is here to stay, and you need to adapt to what's going to happen. No more panicking, no more freaking out, only adaptation and finding the right people and building your team around you to make sure that you're best equipped for this new housing market.